So it looks as if the end of season review from the higher ups is well underway, with the Lewis family, CEO Vinai Interview and non-executive chairman Peter Charrington all releasing suspiciously similar statements this week. I want to go over each of those statements one by one very shortly, but first, a little bit of context. But as usual, if you want to skip ahead to that part of the video, there's a timestamp in the description below. One of the most valuable lessons that you can learn in life is don't watch the mouth, watch what the hands are doing. It's very easy to tell people what you're going to do. I mean, we've all had that mate who says he's going to quit smoking for his New Year's Eve resolution, and then at 10 past midnight, he's out in the back garden lighting up a fag. Remember this quote from the now departed Amanda Staveley, the former executive at Newcastle, after they lost the Carabao Cup final to Man United.
We will win the Carabao Cup, we will win the FA Cup, we will win the Champions League, and we will win the Premier League.
Okay, so they did go on to win the Carabao Cup, but as for the bigger trophies, that's not happening. In the summer following that final, they signed Sandro Tonali, Tino Livramento, Lewis Hall, Yakuba Minter and Harvey Barnes. All very good players, decent players, but are they good enough to win you the Premier League and then the Champions League? Absolutely no chance. And it's a classic example of don't watch the mouth, watch what the hands are doing. As for the statements released by the higher-ups this week, we've just heard it all before, haven't we? Remember this quote from Daniel Levy this time last year after winning the Europa League?
What we haven't done that is more important. You need to win the league. We want to win the Premier League. We want to win the Champions League. But, we want to win.
Just days before he gave that interview, he sacked trophy-winning, attack-minded coach Ange Postecoglou. And then he went on to replace him with Thomas Frank, a defensively-minded, pragmatic coach with all the charisma and gravitas of a wet paper bag. Now, I must admit, I wanted Postecoglou sacked because the league form was ridiculous and some of the stuff he'd done in the media was ridiculous. But if I knew the replacement was going to be Thomas Frank, I would have 100% stayed with Postecoglou for the following season. And that was Levy in a nutshell, really. A money man, very good at the financials, but with zero football knowledge whatsoever. I mean, what sort of gear change is that? Going from a coach like Postecoglou, the attack-minded, all-out attack coach, to Thomas Frank, who wants to stick five at the back and try and nick wins from set pieces. As for the statements put out by the club this week, let's start with our beloved Lewis family. To the fans, as owners of 25 years, we have lived the highs and lows of Spurs with you. Finishing 17th this and last season does not reflect the stature or potential of this football club. We are bitterly disappointed and share your frustration. You and we expect more than this. We know that this must never happen again. Our approach to running the club is and has been to trust the experts to do that whilst backing them to be successful. The problems we found were deeper than what we realised and were allowed to build over the last few years. So I'm just going to cut in there and just say, okay, rather than releasing this statement, why didn't you take some action and get rid of Johan Klanger this week? A man who, by the way, earns 12 grand a week. We know that has eroded trust and we have to win that back. As owners, we take ultimate responsibility for the situation in which the club finds itself. We also take responsibility for rebuilding Spurs. Our ambition is to recapture the spirit of the club and bring back the excitement, the fearlessness and the bold football we have always felt defined us. So I have to jump in again here. If that's your ethos and that's what you believe, why did you allow Daniel Levy to appoint Thomas Frank? Why did you allow Daniel Levy to appoint Jose Mourinho or Antonio Conte? I mean, those guys, a couple of them, great managers in their time, are about as defensively minded as you can get. And so the question would be, why didn't you pull rank when Levy was going to make those appointments and say, no way, no chance, we want bold, fearless, attacking football and a manager that suits that brief. That means football comes first. The board and executive team have laid out their plans to meet this ambition. This will require investment in our teams, the academy, our backroom functions and more. We are fully committed to this. We are not selling the club. We are all in. We are investing in it. You will see more of this in the coming months. Yes, money is required, but it's the structure, it's the personnel that needs to change. We care deeply about Spurs. The rebuild the club needs and you deserve has begun. The change required is deep. It will take time and commitment, but change is happening. We know that actions will speak louder than words. I can say that again. Next, let's go to Peter Charrington, our non-executive chairman, and see what he has to say. Now, this statement is very long, and I'll put a link to it in the description, but to me, it sounds a little bit like it's been written by ChatGPT, just pure generic platitudes. Anyway, let's have a quick review. There's 3 paragraphs that really stand out in this long statement, and let's read these together. Last September, we recognised that something seismic had to change at Spurs. The Lewis family stepped in and authorised a full reset. That decision was not taken lightly, and it came later than it should have. But what has been put in motion is real, and it marks a genuine break from what had come before. As part of that process, we discovered some uncomfortable truths. The qualities that make Spurs distinct, our football, our ambition, the connection between the team and its supporters have been allowed to fade. Football success had not been driving our decisions. We did not have the right expertise in key roles. We did not build squads good enough to compete in the most demanding league in the world. 2 17th-place finishes in a row is not acceptable, and we will not dress it up as anything other than falling well short of what this club expects. Since September, we have restructured the leadership across the club with a refreshed executive and football structure. Most of this team are already in post and others will arrive in the coming weeks. The board are committed to this leadership group and will give them the stability and support they need to run this club in the right way. All right, thanks, Peter. So the evidence we have so far, seeing as this all got put in place last September, as you stated, is the appointment of Igor Tudor, which in all likelihood will go down as the worst appointment ever for any club in Premier League history. In January, your new structure and your new personnel gave us one signing, Conor Gallagher, when it was very, very clear that we were struggling badly with injuries, struggling badly with confidence, and we needed new players in to help us out for the run-in. Your new structure, that was in place since last September, didn't see fit to internally discipline Christian Romero after his repeated outbursts on social media, after his indiscretions and appalling disciplinary issues on the field. Nice one, Peter. Your new team's off to an absolute flyer, aren't they? But you know what? Credit where credit is due, and in the interests of balance, they did deliver Roberto De Zerbi. So, we'll give him a brownie point for that one. And for those of you wondering, like I was, who is Peter Charrington? Well, it won't surprise you to know. He's a money man, he's a banker, a financier, and he's been involved in the Lewis family business for many, many years. And so in terms of his opinions about the football operation and the quality of the squad and whatever else, his opinion holds about as much weight as any geezer you meet down the pub. It's ironic that he talks about not having the right expertise in the right areas because what does this guy know about football? I mean, you don't expect your chairman to be a football expert and a football man, but at least be involved in it. He's never even stepped foot into the world of football. Finally, we come to Vinai Venkatesham, our CEO. He's been all over the media this week and he gave a 50-minute long interview to the BBC. But the one I want to review is this 14-minute interview, which is long enough, that he gave to the club's official YouTube channel. I'm going to play you some clips of what he had to say and then I'll jump in with a few comments and let me know if you guys agree.
Straight away, the question that comes to mind is, why hasn't football been at the centre of everything? Why hasn't football come first as the first priority?
In all the big decisions that the club has made, I don't think it ruthlessly prioritised, is this decision going to be a decision that is going to help us get more points on the pitch, which is going to help us be successful? And quite a lot of the challenges and quite a lot of things we're trying to fix actually are just by, if you are absolutely laser focused on, is this going to help us win football matches? It's a great lens to make your decisions, because you then start making different decisions. You then start investing in different areas. You then start doing different things. And that's a lot of what we're doing now.
Okay, thanks, Vinai. But you've been in the job since April 25. So what have you been doing all this time?
And what is our strategy to try and bring the best talent to Tottenham Hotspur?
So we have a plan around what are the positions that we want to strengthen in the next few windows, and what are the characteristics of the players that we will want in those positions. And those players are continually tracked. That is, of course, all driven by our technical team in conjunction with the head coach. So the technical people make technical decisions. You will never get somebody that is non-technical making a technical opinion on we should strengthen this position, or we should sell this player, or we should buy this player. So there's always a technical plan. Then you overlay that technical plan with what's the financial reality of what we're able to do, both in terms of a cash perspective, and the Lewis family have been very, very clear. They will support the club from a cash perspective to get the squad to where it needs to be. But also, how does that work against the financial regulations and what you're able to do by the rules?
Oh, wonderful. So basically our technical team still don't know what they're doing, because there's already rumours circulating on social media and in the press that we're looking at Morgan Gibbs-White and Hayden Hackney. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we already have 3 players that play in their position? The player you bought in January, Conor Gallagher, James Maddison, who's back from his ACL and is going to be, should be a starter next season. And also Xavi Simons, your marquee signing in the summer. Like, fair enough, he's out of an ACL and we're probably not going to see much of him next year. But when he comes back, and if you sign Gibbs-White or Hackney or both of them, You're going to have 5 players for the same position.
We suffered a lot of injuries last season. We've suffered a lot of injuries this season. Is there a reason for that? And how, again, do we go about ensuring that we are not a side that is facing a situation where we have the most injuries in the Premier League?
There's of course reasons for it. There are lots of things that contribute to the injury burden that we have. There are predominantly 2 major things that we are focused on. One is putting together a world-class team of individuals in the performance team. So we have the best talent and the best people and the best expertise to work with and manage our players, structured and organised in the right way to be effective. So that's one piece. And the second piece is going back to what I was saying earlier about making sure that performance is used as the lens that we make our decisions. Our training ground is amazing in so many ways, but it has to change and it needs to adapt to become much more focused around performance.
Again, he makes these statements, but he doesn't give any details on how he's going to do it whatsoever. And I don't know why the interviewer doesn't push him on this. It's all just generic stuff, platitudes.
But what does this phase look like now in the short term?
Sure. Well, I think the really important thing is I don't want anyone to take away from this that we've just been sitting around this season, waiting for the season to end. Season's been unacceptable, and now we need to suddenly spring into action as a reaction to what's happened during the season. That's absolutely not true. It was completely clear to me in September last year that a reset needed to happen, and the reset started then.
That's going really well.
When will fans hear from our leadership over the course of the next few months? What comes next that's tangible that fans can see and are able to experience? And what do we do over the course of the next few months to ensure that we are taking those right steps, but in a way that is visible to our supporters?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think communication is important. So you've obviously heard from Peter, our chairman, immediately from the season ending. Obviously hearing from me today, and there'll be a few other bits of media work I'm doing around this time as well. And we have our fan advisory board in June, where we'll be sitting down, myself and Peter Charrington, our chairman, will both be there in person to hear from our fan advisory board. So engagement and communication is important, because I also recognise that there is a massive disconnect between the club and its supporters.
Yes, Vinai, I agree it's very important to get the opinions of the fans and to have them ask you questions and press you on stuff. But if you're going to give them the same generic answers that you've been giving this guy for the last 13 minutes, what's the fucking point?
So we completely get the supporters' pain, and they are right to feel all of that. We will fix this.
We will fix this. Careful, Vinai. Actions, not words, please. And so in summary, these are the facts. Yes, it's a good start that the board, the leadership, the higher-ups have come out with the statements in the media this week and the interviews to say that they acknowledge that there are deep problems at the club. And that acknowledgement is actually a positive thing. But the problem is, and I'm sure I speak for nearly all the fans here, is that with your track record over the last few years, we just don't trust you to fix it. What I didn't like was that the kind of underlying tone between the statement from the Lewis family, the statement from Charrington, and the interviews that Vinai were giving is that they're all basically scapegoating Daniel Levy, which to me is a coward's move. Look, I'm no fan of Levy, and I think he's largely responsible for a lot of the problems that were allowed to seed at the club. But in an institution of this size, with so many people with roles to play, you can't just lay the blame at the door of Daniel Levy. It's a collective responsibility. The summer transfer window would tell us a huge deal about how serious they are in fixing this mess that they've created. And to be fair, we're off to a pretty good start. I think the signing of Andy Robertson and Senesi from Bournemouth, they're both good signings and they play in areas of the pitch where we need to strengthen. But I do also hold the opinion that we need to go pretty big this summer and sign some real marquee players. There are some really good players available this summer, and I think realistically, even with our reputation as low as it is after our consecutive 17th place finishes, I still think realistically they're gettable. And so ultimately, it's over to you guys. Don't watch the mouth, watch what the hands are doing. Thanks for watching.